Welcome to Dallas Influences Sport and Entertainment second virtual speaker series. My name is Carla Rosenberg, and I am the current president of DICE. In my day job, I serve as the Senior Vice President of Charity and Events Management for Lagardère Plus. For those of you that are new to this series and not familiar with DICE, our vision is to use the power of sports and entertainment to help our area's children who need it, through an initial goal of granting $1 million to local nonprofits. And to date, we've distributed over $700,000 to local nonprofits since 2013. How do we do it? By creating programming that shines a light on all the people, programs, and platforms that make DFW unique to our industry, while providing members meaningful connection and development opportunity. And in today's new world, those opportunities have almost entirely moved online. To that end, we've built this virtual speaker series to be able to provide a platform and outlet for meaningful content and connection to not only our members, but also anyone who is keen to get insight into the current state of the sports industry. We are proud to offer this free virtual speaker series each week on Wednesday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time for 30 minutes. We will have sports and entertainment leaders go behind the scenes of the business side of their jobs. Please feel free to share this with your colleagues, your friends, and family. The more, the merrier. We hope you will find these discussions informative and a nice midweek reprieve. As I mentioned, we use our platform to give back. Right now, our food banks are struggling to keep up with demand for food. So funds raised through these speaker series will be donated to the North Texas Food Bank and allocated toward family boxed meals. I shared last week that our friends at the Dallas Stars Foundation and the Texas Rangers Foundation have each stepped up and offered to match up to $5,000 of the funds we raised during these weekly speaker series. I'm excited to announce that the Dallas Mavericks will be joining this effort as well. That's an additional $15,000. That's if we can reach our fundraising goal of $5,000. So right now, for every dollar you contribute, $3 gets added. Thanks to our team partners and for being such great community leaders. Please know that no amount is too small. Every dollar makes a difference. $1 provides 3 meals to those in need. I will make sure to post a donation link in the chat for everyone to see. Before we start our discussion today, I want to let you all know that there is an opportunity to ask questions throughout the segment using the Q&A feature below. In addition, the only visuals you should see on your screen are the speakers. Therefore, if you'd like to still virtually network, please feel free to do so and set your chat to all panelists and attendees. Drop your name and company in that box. We also hope you'll post on social and tag at AT&T Byron Nelson and at DICE.org with hashtag DICE Virtual Advice. Again, I'll post these handles in the chat. We have a lot of ground to cover today in a short amount of time, so let me introduce you to our moderator, Kern Egan, who is the co-founder and chairman of DICE and serves as the President Americas of Lagardère Plus, Lagardère Sports and Entertainment's global partnership marketing agency. Our guest today is Jon Drago, the tournament director of AT&T Byron Nelson. This University of Texas alum is a member of PGA of America, of which he is a master professional and serves on its National Rules of Golf Committee. Jon joined Salesmanship Club in 2003 after helping lead other PGA Tour championships nationwide. Jon has spent 15 years at the helm of the Dallas tournament. Unfortunately, this year's tournament, which was slated for May 7th through 10th, was canceled due to the coronavirus, and the event will not be rescheduled. The tournament also recently announced it was moving in 2021 from Trinity Forest in South Dallas to TPC Craig Ranch in McKinney. Jon, thanks for being with us today. I'd like to hand this over to Kern to get this conversation started.
Thank you for that introduction, Carla. I appreciate it and well done as always. I want to first thank our board member, Amanda Larder from Tony Fay PR for helping us with today's session. Our board members do so much behind the scenes to make DICE what it is today. JD, it's great to see you.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here today with all y'all.
Excellent. I'll have to start by thanking you for your $500 donation to the North Texas Food Bank on our behalf today. I'm going to match that, totaling $1,000, and with the matching by the Mavs, Stars, and Rangers, We collectively just donated $3,000 to a group who really needs it right now. So thank you.
You bet. It was an honor to do it. And it's one of the things I really like about DICE and everything that we stand for, that, all of our get-togethers, whether now virtual or in person, always have some sort of element of fundraising. So thanks for that leadership.
Great. Thank you for your support. You ready to dig in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let's start with the latest news. So you recently announced that the AT&T Byron Nelson tournament will move to TPC Craig Ranch in McKinney next year. Can you tell us what that selection process was like and what ultimately made you choose Craig Ranch?
You bet. I'll try not to use the whole 30 minutes on this first question because, as you might imagine, a lot goes into that decision. But I would love to share some of kind of how we got here. So we announced back in January that this May, actually the tournament you mentioned, Carlo, is May 7th. Actually, next week would have been tournament week for us. But we had announced previously that we were leaving Trinity Forest after this year and we're in search for a new home. So immediately, knowing that we would have to host a tournament at a new home within 15 months, we immediately went into the due diligence process of trying to find that new home. Received several incoming calls. I started searching golf courses, did a lot of Google searches, did a lot of Google Maps, drove around a lot, talked to a lot of people. But I'd say clearly, we were looking for, first and foremost, a championship golf course, vibrant market, community support, all the things that go into putting a professional sporting event on. And kind of looking through that lens, I would say quickly, we narrowed it down to two real finalists, TPC Four Seasons and TPC Craig Ranch. And ironically, we had experience with both of them. We're friends with both of them. We had 35 really, really good years at TPC Four Seasons. We have a lot of friends that are still there. We have a lot of connections in the urban community that we're still have great relationship with. And really, they helped us build the tournament into what it is today. We also, at the same time, had previously hosted the 2008 and the 2012 nationwide or web.com tour championships at TPC Craig Ranch. So we knew Mr. Craig, we knew the folks from McKinney, and so it was almost like a friendly conversation with both of those partners. And as we went through that, to be honest, what really kind of tipped the scales, I guess, if you will, is we were blown away by the coalition that McKinney, TPC Craig Ranch, Club Corp, the operator, the business community in McKinney, that they had put together, really, for lack of a better word, to recruit us. We were blown away by the research that they had done, by their shared vision, and the philanthropic community that came out, and clearly they had done their homework. They're PGA Tour fans. They are Byron Nelson fans. They are, they had been to the tournament. They had seen it. They knew. They had gone to the city. They knew what city services we might need. They had identified parking locations and other operational areas, and really just came prepared and came aggressively. And at the end of the day, when it was time to make a decision, we felt like those shared values and that work that had been done and the growth that's happened in that area really positioned the tournament for its best chance long-term success.
Well, I don't think I wouldn't have known that. You started with that much of a blank slate.
Yeah, for sure. We, clearly, I'm a golfer. As you mentioned, I'm a PGA member, a member of the North Texas PGA, so I'm friendly with a lot of the different golf courses around, but we wanted to make sure that we turned over every rock. We made sure that we were making, the best decision that we could for long-term success. So we were going to make sure that we went through the process, very laboriously.
Yeah, I had no idea that, you cast such a wide net to start. Thanks for sharing that.
You bet.
I can't imagine in your wildest dreams you'd ever think your tournament would simply just be, canceled in any given year. Can you take us behind the scenes a little bit on that? What was it like for you, the tournament, Salesmanship Club, Momentis Institute, et cetera?
Yeah, you're right, Kern. Those of us that produce live events and live sporting events and specifically outdoor events, I think we spend our life and definitely all of our meetings just thinking about various contingencies, but those of us that run golf tournaments, most of our contingency planning and, focus around things not being delivered on time, the weather being bad. Clearly we've had our share of bad weather the last 2 years, with the hottest AT&T Byron Nelson on record and the coldest last year. So, we're usually focused around some of those things that you have some precedent of. As it was happening this year and it was slowly developing, you mentioned Tony Fay PR. I remember we were in a meeting a few weeks before and we just mentioned maybe we should start changing our messaging a little bit because there's something going on with this coronavirus. And we want to make sure that we're, sensitive to other things going on in the world besides a golf tournament. A couple of weeks later, I remember I was sitting in a board meeting making my general monthly presentation, and I knew the PGA Tour was going to make some sort of announcement. It was during the Players Championship, and that during that board meeting, I got a text that they had announced that the next day the Players was going to go to no fans, as well as the next 4 events. So we immediately started contingency planning around, wow, if this continued, we were outside the window at that point, but we needed to be prepared if it continued. So we started thinking about what an AT&T Byron Nelson might look like without fans on site. And that's probably a conversation for another show for you, maybe with Charles Schwab, Challenge Tournament Director. But from there, for us, it really happened quickly. We didn't spend a lot of time on that contingency plan because it was 3, 4, 5 days later where we heard, no, we're not going to be played with at all. We're going to be canceled. So that really threw us into okay, what now? We've got customers, we've got volunteers that have signed up, we've got orders that have been placed, and how's this going to affect our revenue and finances? Just like any business was going through at that time. For us, it was, we had started our build. We were about a month into building the structures for our hospitality and so forth out there. So, what could be canceled? What have we already paid for that we can just use in 2021? And how are we going to communicate with our customers? And I'll say that I'm really proud of the fact that when we reached out to our customers, we've been overwhelmed by the support that we've received from them and from the title sponsor and on and on.
It just sounds like just a tremendous, number of decisions and changes, and there had to be some impact of that's just inevitable, including revenue. And when I think about that, I think of the Momentis Institute and the critical work that they do for the children in our community. We see the heart logo all around the tournament, and that's really symbolic. Can you tell us sort of about the tournament's relationship with them and how you help?
Yeah, you bet, actually, and I appreciate you asking that question because I think one of the things a lot of people don't know is the business model of the PGA Tour. I work for a nonprofit, the Salesmanship Club of Dallas, and all the tournaments on the PGA Tour exist to benefit charities. They're all run as nonprofits. We're unique at the AT&T Byron Nelson because not only do we have that same business model, but we're the only host organization that owns and operates the tournament, but also owns and operates the charitable beneficiary of the tournament. So the Salesmanship Club's been helping children and families in the Dallas area in our community since 1920, and they've been raising money to do that. And in 1968, they just decided they were going to use golf as their method to raise money, and they approached Mr. Nelson about putting his name on it. And for the last 53 years, that's been the mechanism to help raise money for the programs of Momentis Institute. And as you might imagine, it's emotional for us, it's personal for us, and the work has never been more important. What Momentis Institute does for children and families in our community is, they build and repair social emotional health. That's kind of the tagline, if you will, but they do that through education, they do that through mental health services, and they do that through research and training. And with what's going on in the world right now, the need has never been greater. And we talk a lot about first responders, and we've got such a great we owe such a debt of gratitude to those that are out as first responders fighting right now. But the mental health professionals that are dealing with those that have been affected by this disease more than infected by it are part of that equation too. So as I mentioned before, we were overwhelmed by the support from our corporate community, because we were worried. Without a golf tournament, what kind of revenue are you going to have? And so we reached out to all of our partners. We've had detailed conversations with them. We've asked them for help. But if their business is in a place where they need a full refund, we're going to give them a full refund. But we've just been so encouraged and inspired by the number of customers of ours, for lack of a better word, relationships of ours that have helped out. And the work's going to continue for that reason.
Yeah, and you mentioned Salesmanship Club. I just wonder if you could just expand a little bit on what just a terrific group of people they are. As you know, that's how you and I started working together. Kind of working on with you in the Salesmanship Club on sort of the vision for the tournament's future. I don't know, there must have been 7 or 8 years ago now. And I just gained a lot of respect for kind of what they do, how they do it, how long they've been doing it. And I just think a really underappreciated asset here that, also has kind of affected how the PGA Tour, kind of views you in terms of that strength of an organizing, sort of host and committee that many other tournaments don't have.
Yeah. Again, that's really personal, and I appreciate. What's that?
I know that's another show to answer that kind of.
Yeah, we could definitely use an entire show on that too. But I love talking about the Salesmanship Club. As I mentioned, our structure is a little bit different. So the host organization, the company, if you will, that I work for is the Salesmanship Club of Dallas. And then also the Salesmanship Club runs the AT&T Byron Nelson, and the Salesmanship Club also runs the Momentis Institute. So, but the Salesmanship Club, as I mentioned, I think briefly earlier, it roots back to 1920. So during this year's tournament next week, we would have been celebrating the club's 100th anniversary and really kind of kicking off the next 100 years. And since that time, they have been working to help children and families in Dallas and in our community that need it. If you break it all down. And they're a great group of individuals. They work hard, they play hard, they are influential in our community, and they have chosen to give their time to the Momentis Institute and to each other. To be honest, it's a fellowship that meets every Thursday, and as part of their meeting, what they are planning, and they're raising money to help the kids and families here in our town that need it. And just in the 53 years of the tournament, because that's really what I have put most of my effort into, they've raised more than $163 million for kids and families in our community. So it inspires us when we come to work every day, and then we get to see the results of it through Momentis Institute just down the hall.
Yeah, no doubt. We're definitely lucky here to have them.
Yeah.
That makes such a difference, for our community, and especially the intersection of golf and helping, children, for sure. I know I'm been thankful to get to know them and understand better what they do. I'll switch gears for maybe one more question before we ask some audience questions. I just want to talk a little bit about this sort of Silicon Valley of golf that people talk about being created here in North Texas. Certainly spurred on by the PGA of America, working to make Frisco its future home. It certainly reinforces what a critical market North Texas is for the game of golf. Can you tell us what that means for you as a PGA Tour tournament director, but also as a member of the PGA of America? Sort of what the difference is between those organizations and how this will help the golf or the game of golf in our area.
Yeah, that's great. I will say there's a lot of people that don't really know the difference between the PGA of America and the PGA Tour. And the way that I would describe it is, as a PGA member, I certainly could never make a living playing golf. That's pretty clear. But the PGA of America is a member organization of 27,000 professionals like myself who make their living in the business of golf. So we basically say that PGA of America members are golf professionals, and PGA Tour members are professional golfers. So they're out, they make their living playing golf. And the PGA Tour is the organization that exists to give, revenue opportunities to its members, which are those playing, and they do that through tournaments like us. And PGA of America is, the head pro at Cedar Crest, for instance, is a PGA member. All the most golf courses have a PGA of America member that promotes the game and runs the business of golf. And you talk about that, the Silicon Valley. I think Seth Wall, the CEO of PGA of America, has used that term, that they wanted to build the Silicon Valley of golf up in North Dallas and in Collin County. And a lot of people just thought, as we were looking through for different golf courses, a lot of people thought that the new development in Frisco that PGA of America was building was actually part of the PGA Tour, and that would be where the AT&T Byron Nelson would go. And there was just confusion around all of that. Yeah. So completely separate. We're really excited about going to McKinney. We're excited, I think, for a lot of the same reasons the PGA of America chose that area to relocate and to move their headquarters, is a lot of the same reasons why we chose the city of McKinney and Collin County for the AT&T Byron Nelson. You've got one of the fastest growing markets in the United States. The industry that's being built up there is very, very impressive. The facilities that are now available, it's just the difference between when we were there in 2008 and when we go back in 2021 is night and day. And I think it positions all of us really well.
Yeah. I know that region and what's happening in the north part of North Texas, is really, I think, the envy of a lot of other markets around the country. And being in and around the business side of golf, quite a bit. I know it's the talk of, the industry about a lot of that center of influence sort of moving more and more, here in North Texas. So we're lucky to be here. A couple audience questions. I'll try to manage the best way I can. I think a lot relates to the tournament coming up next year. What changes you might expect? Any thoughts on what those dates are going to look like in the future? Any changes or improvements you think in terms of player reaction or participation? Just kind of look in the crystal ball a bit on how you think this tournament might look, moving forward.
Yeah, great question. Clearly that's what we're working on right now. We've got nothing but really positive feedback so far from fans, from the players that we've spoken to. We haven't spoken to a lot of players yet, just because the players aren't out there where we would normally be speaking with them. But some of our defending champion Sung Kang is a member or plays out there a lot. So we feel really confident about that. The dates, we do have the dates. The dates are May 10 through 16. So I told we had a staff meeting yesterday. It was 376 days until the tournament week, which is a long time between tournaments for us. But if you think about the things that we have to do between now and then, it'll go really, really fast. The interesting thing about PGA Tour events is you have to build your stadium every year. So putting that plan in place, organizing the traffic flow patterns for people, what we want the experience to be like when they get there, how AT&T is going to engage fans while we're out there. I'd say planning is going well. It's going really quickly, but it's still in the idea phase and in the planning phase. And we've got us, AT&T, the city of McKinney, TPC Craig Ranch, Club Corp, we've got everybody kind of rallying around this. And I feel really, really encouraged that we're going to have a springtime festival in Dallas that happens to have a golf tournament going on at the same time is really what we're trying to create.
And are the dates set moving forward, or how does that work?
Yeah, the dates are set for May 10 through 16. So we'll be, the tour hasn't released the calendar, but typically we would get our dates next week. So a little bit of inside information for this group. We'll be announcing it in the coming weeks that we'll be playing May 10 through 16. Got
it. Maybe more sort of on a personal level, how's life changed for you and your team? It seems like we're getting some positive news even, today with Dr. Fauci mentioning there's some potential medical opportunities that's going to shorten recovery time. It seems like, let's hope that the worst is behind us, but there's still a lot of unknowns. I think everybody has to deal with this differently based on their work style, their teams, especially the live event business. What's life like you right now in terms of work and what are you planning for?
Yeah, like everybody, it's been an adjustment. I will tell you, it's been a big adjustment for me personally with work from home. I'm not great at it. I came into the office today, there's nobody here because I didn't want the distraction of the dog or, somebody driving by and getting distracted in some sort of way. So it's clearly different. And at the same time, right when all that happened, we had to try to start unwinding and rewinding the AT&T Byron Nelson for 2020. And at the same time, we were trying to finalize a deal with TPC Craig Ranch and our new facility. So the work certainly didn't slow down at all.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that everybody is now working remotely and everybody's got anxiety about kind of where we're going. I think you mentioned it. It's the unknown right now that's got everybody, myself included, anxious. Will the way we conduct golf tournaments look different in May of 2021 than it does right now? Will you be selling the same types of hospitality? Will we need to take temperatures of people when they come? Will there be a vaccine available? It's just if you had we work off of spreadsheets and checklists, and they all have dates on them. And right now, with no date that we're working towards, other than we know we're going to host a tournament in May of 2021, but not knowing what the world's going to look like in June, July, August, September. It's site visits are hard to do those plannings when you can't really get a group together and go brainstorm out on the side. So I'd say for us, it's like most businesses right now, we're adjusting.
Yeah. I think we all are. I think I'll try to group a couple of audience questions into sort of maybe one last question from them. It's again a lot of questions about this coming, this tournament happening in McKinney. What changes might we expect, both from a commercial side? I mean, do you expect the sponsor or hospitality customer base to evolve or change in any particular way? It's probably early, but any fan sort of experience changes that you can foresee? Get some questions around that area.
Yeah. Yes, I see. I guess the answer is yes. I think we have all, and as I mentioned, we're in that idea phase of what, not a lot of people get a chance to create something from scratch like this, which is what we're doing right now. And so we've got ideas that we're throwing out there, and we're listening to everyone, and we're watching what other people are doing. I don't have any real specifics that I can share. This is what's going to happen, but we've talked about, activations on site. We've talked about maybe some music venue. They're building a great music venue right down the street, a couple of blocks from the golf course right now. So we've talked a lot about different ideas like that. One of the things we were going to do in 2020 this year, we were internally just talking about it being the taste of Dallas and creating a real kind of food and beverage experience on site. So I'm sure we'll discuss ideas around that as well. But what we're really hoping to do is to create a fun party-like festival experience for everybody to come see. And I'll tell you from a customer base, I just think it expands the footprint. One of the things that I've always been impressed about is the fact that this area, Dallas, Fort Worth, Collin County, the whole area are such fans of sports in general. And the fact that the corporate community and the fans can host 2 tournaments within 3 weeks on the PGA Tour says a lot for the commitment of this area. Yeah,
no doubt. Well, you talk about having a spring, get together, spring party. There's certainly, I don't know of too many events like yours that already have that, reputation for delivering on, such a great kind of social gathering and rite of spring. So hopefully that will continue in McKinney. We got one last question that we just have to ask before we wrap up. And I got myself in the middle of this debate when we worked together so long ago, and it was fascinating to me that I'd never thought of it. But tell us once and for all: is it the Byron or is it the Nelson?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. I was asked that question from the ticket the other week as well. And, in my role, it's always the AT&T Byron Nelson first and foremost, first, second, third, and last. But clearly, we also make all of our decisions, around honoring Mr. Nelson and his reputation and what he brought. And we use that lens for a lot of our decisions. So, for me, it'll always be the AT&T Byron Nelson, but it'll always be Mr. Nelson.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Definitely good to remind everyone of, why that tournament exists and, who we honor every year. So before we close, can you tell us, how we can all learn about supporting the AT&T Byron Nelson more?
Yeah, thanks. And thanks everybody for joining today. I hope we didn't lose half the group throughout the call.
Like it.
Getting sandwiched between Kelly from the Rangers and an Olympic gold medalist. I wasn't exactly sure what kind of reaction you would get, but we'll be as we have updates, because clearly that'll happen rolling for us now. We'll update all our social media channels, ATT Byron Nelson, and of course our website, attbyronnelson.org. Great.
Thank you, Jon. And just as we kick this off, kind of as a reminder, we're doing all of this as volunteers, but really hoping we can use this platform to raise awareness and contributions for the people in our community who need it most right now. As you may have seen the news coverage, our food banks are struggling to keep up with the demand for food. Families need your help, so please take a moment and make a donation if you can. I think Carla provided that link in the chat window, and also be in our social posts. Either $5 or $10 make a difference, and it'll go even a lot further with the generous matching program of our partners. Please start us on social, as I'm told to say. If you haven't already, use hashtag #DiceVirtualAdvice and mention the @AT&T Byron Nelson handle, of course. Thank you everyone for your time. We hope to see you next week. We'll be visiting with a local hero of ours, Michelle Carter, an Olympic gold medalist and someone we're going to be really lucky to spend some time with. So I really hope to see everybody next week. Enjoy the rest of your week, and thanks again for joining.